Hello, my dear children. Good morning. How are you all? I hope you all are fine and doing good. My dear children, today we are going to continue the Africa lesson. Regions with heavy rainfall. We will discuss now about the regions with heavy rainfall. Regions with heavy rainfall. Regions with heavy rainfall. A large part of Africa on both sides of the equator receives heavy rainfall. A large part of the Africa, both sides of the equator. Yesterday I have shown you that the both parts, these two parts receives the heavy rainfall. These two parts receives the heavy rainfall. They are in Central and Western Africa. So these regions have dense forests due to heavy rainfall and the warm climate. Next, regions with moderate and scanty rainfall. So the regions which are very close to the equator. So these are receiving the heavy rainfall. They are receiving the heavy rainfall. So here are the dense forests because of the heavy rainfall and warm climate. Warm climate. And now moderate rainfall means medium rainfall and also scanty rainfall, low rainfall. So the regions which are away from the equator, it surrounds the zone of heavy rainfall. In the region with moderate rainfall, it rains only in summer, whereas it rains throughout the year in the equatorial region. So this region receives a heavy rainfall throughout the year. But the regions which are away from the equator receives the rainfall only in the summer. As in our country, dry and wet seasons are distinct in the zones of moderate rainfall in Africa. Due to moderate rainfall, medium rainfall, not heavy, not low. Tall grasses grow in this region. The grass grows very tall. In some places, these grasses are so tall. In some places, these grasses are so tall, even the elephants can hide in them. Some trees also grow between the grass. So this region is known as, the tall grass is known as the savanna. Tall grass is known as the savanna. A very large part of Africa is extremely arid. Arid means hot. Arid means very hot. Dry. So where the rainfall is scanty, that region remains as a dry desert area. There is no rainfall for several years. There is no rainfall at all for several years. No rainfall at all for several years. Almost half of the northern part. North side, center, south side. So the northern part of the Africa is an arid region, Sahara Desert. and the south part, Kalahari Desert. Thorny bushes and short grasses grow in some parts of this desert. In other parts, there are large stretches of sand and bare hills and rocks, stones and pebbles. In the south, there is another arid region, Kalahari Desert. In the north, if it is Africa, this is Sahara Desert towards north, towards the north, and towards the south, that is Kalahari Desert. Kalahari Desert. So these two regions receives scanty rainfall. Scanty rainfall. These two regions receives the scanty rainfall. The people of Africa. The people of Africa. People with different languages, lifestyles and habits live in different regions of Africa. Since ancient times, people have lived in small tribes. The people, mainly those who lives in Africa, or belongs to the several tribes. Tribes, those who lives by hunting animals and gathering the food. Hunters have inhabited the equatorial regions and the deserts. Pastoralists inhabited the high plateaus and savanna, grazing their animals on the extensive grasslands. Agriculture has long been carried out on river banks. The agriculture has been carried out on the river banks as well as on the margins of forests. Where the water available, there is the chance to grow. There is the chance to cultivate. There are several cities on the coasts where traders from distant countries come to trade. So Cape of Good Hope, so that was very famous, popular. Africa, Europe and Asia. Africa, Europe, Asia. Africa, Europe, Asia. For a long time, people from other continents were largely ignorant about Africa. They don't know about of the interior parts of the Africa. About 500 years ago, Europeans began their attempts. So we know that Vasco da Gama, Christopher Columbus, 1498 and 1492, they went around the Africa, Portuguese sailor, Vasco da Gama. And they found the sea routes to America and the India. So these sea routes, this discovery of sea routes helped to spread their trade to far away from the Africa and Asia. About 500 years ago, Europeans began their attempts to reach India by the sea route by going around Africa. Traversing the Atlantic Ocean, they used to stop over on the islands of Saint Madeira and Azores Islands. A land which is surrounded four sides water is known as island. So they thought it would be so hot further south that the sea would be boiling. Then in 1498, a Portuguese sailor named Vasco da Gama went around the south tip of Africa and reached the India. The African coast. While studying Europe, you must have noticed its broken coastline. Initially, when Europeans tried to go inland, many African tribes came into direct conflict with them. The Africans started the conflict with the Europeans. Europeans indulged in the unfair trade, tried to enslave. These Europeans tried to enslave them. And finally, hence the African people resisted the efforts of foreigners. The slave trade. In the 16th century, many Europeans began migrating to America and started the cultivation there. So they need the laborers to work in their farms. So they encouraged the slave trade. Africans were captured and enslaved mainly from the coastal areas of Guinea as well as Eastern Africa. The captured people were brought to the coast and sold to the Europeans. In exchange for the slaves, the African tribal leaders accepted the guns, iron objects, liquor and cloths. The slaves were greatly oppressed. Many of them died by the time they reached the ports. The ships were stuffed with slaves. There were no proper arrangements for food or medicine. In those days, it took several days to reach America. Many slaves did not survive in the journey due to illness. Even in America, inhuman treatment was meted out of them. Inhuman treatment. So, finally, this slave trade was ended in the 19th century. European colonies earlier, you had read that Europeans had reached India by going Africa subsequently. We will discuss these European colonies in our next class, Amma. Thank you, children. See you.